I really like this room I'm renting in Dubai, but it's cost me too much money, so it's time to go back to the States and make some more car videos. So let's go. Recently we tested an Audi S3, a very nice sporty sedan with a 323 horsepower turbo under the hood, 7-speed dual clutch automatic transmission, all-wheel drive, and a sport suspension. It was a fantastic rig. 0 to 60 in under 4.5 seconds. But the price tag. Oops, I stand corrected. It's 328 horsepower, not 323. I read that wrong. And here's the price sticker of the vehicle we had. Almost 61,000 bucks. A bit too expensive for me. And that's why we have the Golf Type R. Same engine, transmission, all-wheel drive as the Audi S3, but dropped into Volkswagen Golf body. Slightly lower price, they say. Well, I ordered one, and here's the price sheet. Let's see how much this baby is. All right, $47,100, but there's a $3,795 for a Golf Euro package. And what they do is they replace the sunroof with a solid roof, replace power seats with manual seats. If you're getting less, they're charging you more. Good gimmick. In other cars, you get a sunroof and power seats, they charge you more for that. So it's a win-win situation for Volkswagen. And they're charging $296 for floor mats. Please spare me. Shouldn't that be standard? And there's a total tab, but still an awful lot cheaper than the Audi S3. Here's a safety rating. Not rated at all. And here's the claimed fuel economy. Nice if you can get it. We'll rack up about 400 to 500 miles on it and see if this is true. So let's go take a look at the vehicle because it's being delivered today. So here it is in person. From the side, it kind of looks like any other vehicle on the road. You have to get up close to see the detail. The quad exhaust is a hint there's something under the hood that might be special. The rear spoiler. The nice wheels and the giant disc brakes. And as always, we check the branded tires, Hankook. Not saying there's anything wrong with that brand, but for this kind of money, I'd expect some nice Michelins or Pirellis, but oh well. 235/35R19 for those interested. Doesn't seem to be much rubber on these wheels. Wonder if that's going to be the result of a rough ride. Well, we'll find out. It's about 110 degrees out today, so let's get in the shade before I melt. Or worse, my camera melts. That's more important. It's a decent looking styling, but if this was my vehicle, I think I want to cover up this giant VW emblem that's on the front and rear. Sticks out like a big nasty zit. Same on the rear. But this is how you secretly open the vehicle. Let's take a look underneath and see if there's a spare tire under here. Well, we do get a jack. And we have some sort of tire inflator kit, but I'm not sure how this wheel works. I had a Volkswagen GTI with a wheel like this, but there's actually a tire wrapped around it, and there doesn't seem to be anything wrapped around this. Not sure what I'm looking at here. Is there a tire in there? Well, make a comment in the comment section. One of the problems with the Audi S3, there was no legroom whatsoever. Here we have a bit more, even with the seats almost all the way back. Yeah, definitely more room back here in the Volkswagen than the Audi. And the quality of materials and workmanship is pretty decent. Really not much different than the Audi. And here's the gauge cluster saying hello. And the gauge cluster itself is very well designed. Although fiddling with all the buttons to get all the features is kind of a pain in the butt. The controls are on the steering wheel, and there's a learning curve here to get what you want. In the first 16 miles today, hasn't been very impressive as far as fuel economy goes, but it will get better. We're doing a lot of MPG tests on this later on in the video, so don't go away. On the positive side, the info screen is very large. Most of the functions are reasonably easy to use, except programming the radio stations. It's kind of a pain in the butt, but you'll get used to it once you figure out the procedure. I do not like the fact that all the climate controls are on the screen, as we see here. Here's your fan speed. There's your temperature. I'd rather have knobs and buttons on the dash, but they do this to save money. I don't like taking my eyes off the road when I'm driving either, but this is the way it is. You have to get used to it. The room inside the glove box is very impressive. Lots of deep space in there, so considering the small size of the car, I'd say that's a pretty good deal. If you like to shift manually, there are pedal shifters on the steering wheel where they belong. Can always be reached regardless of whether you're taking corners or going a straight line, unlike the Italians do when they put them on the steering column back here, which is kind of stupid. Yeah, I know Ferrari does it, but it's wrong. They belong on the steering wheel, but they can always be reached. The Germans get it right. And here's the shift mechanism. Forward for reverse, back for drive. As you see, there's a lot of shiny plastic here and some reflective chrome. I don't know if it's real. And right now we're in the shade, it's not an issue, but when you get outside driving, yeah, it's an issue. I'll show you why in a second. In driving mode, Eco, Comfort, Sport, or Race. And Custom. Now we're in the sun, you can see what I'm talking about. The rays are reflecting right in my face. Something you don't want to have happen when you're driving on the freeway at 75 miles per hour. Or the German Autobahn at 150 miles per hour. I have a filter on my lens, so it doesn't look that bad to you, but trust me, it's bad to me right now. This is totally ridiculous. I don't know how this got in production. Especially for a German car, it's made for high-speed driving. The only solution is put a rag over it. I drove the Volkswagen GTI version of this, which is a bit more sedate in horsepower, and the ride was very, very smooth. Here we got these 19-inch wheels with not a lot of rubber, so there's a lot of bumping and thumping going on, but nothing really serious. Not a deal killer. It is a high-performance car after all, and you do have a lot of horsepower running through here, so you do need some stiff wheels and tires. You'll appreciate it when you're taking corners in a hurry, as we'll be doing later on in the video. The steering's very quick and responsive. Of course, it's electric, doesn't have much feel, but I don't think anybody will be complaining. And the brakes are very strong. When you put it in race mode, the transmission shifts really quick and the exhaust sounds really loud. You're not supposed to use race mode on the street, but come on. Of course you are. We'll be taking this out to tight mountain roads tonight. You press the throttle down, this thing's a real beast, but that's what we're paying for. This thing's going to be fun to drive. Let's take this Type R on the highway and see what type of fuel economy we get. We're going to do around 20 miles on the expressway, around 65-70 miles per hour, and hit the interstate. Approximately 120 miles, give or take. And here you can see the problem with the shiny plastic and shiny chrome on the console. The sun's reflecting off and blinding me at the highway speeds, which is very annoying. Not something you want to do when you're cruising along at this speed. And in Germany, when they drive 150 miles per hour, definitely not. This applies to the GTI model as well. I had that the week before. The ride quality of this vehicle on the freeway is reasonably comfortable, but there's a lot of thumping, bumping noises coming from these big wheels and tires. Not a deal killer, nothing serious, just a wee bit annoying. You'll get used to it. It is a performance vehicle after all. Well, another happy hour moron caused a big accident, so we'll have to stop our trip. However, while we were moving, we were getting 32.6 mpg. Can't complain about that. That also included some city driving. Alright, let's take a second highway trip. Maybe we'll have better luck this time. We seem to be actually moving at highway speeds. Well, 33.9 is not too bad. Oops, 69 miles per hour instead of 70. Well, it's around midnight, nice and cool out here in the desert, around 85, 90 degrees. Cool for out here anyway. This vehicle wasn't made to be driven in town. This vehicle was made to be at high speed Autobahn in Germany doing 140 miles per hour, or in the United States where you're not allowed to drive that fast. Nice curved mountain roads. So let's take this out and do some nice curved mountain roads. We got our money's worth. On the street, I've been driving in comfort mode. Once we hit the mountains, we'll split between sport and that much waited for race mode. This is the roughest road in the county, all kinds of ripples and dipples. I don't know if you hear it on the camera, a lot of thumping coming into the cabin, but if you want to test a car for ride quality, this is the road to do it. These big tires, big wheels, you just have to live with the thumping. No big deal. On paper, this Type R should be about as quick as the Audi S3. Doesn't seem as quick to me, but it's no slouch either. When the turbo kicks in, you're flying. Ooh, yeah. I put the vehicle in sport mode, and when you do so, the transmission shifts more aggressively. Always knows what gear to be in. Far superior to the 6-speed manual transmission that everybody seems to like, if they like shifting for themselves. But the 7-speed automatic is far superior. Of course, if you want to shift for yourself, there's always the pedal shifters on the steering wheel. Right now I have the headlight system in manual mode. The brights are very powerful. The low beams really don't go out as far enough as I would like. Go back to high beam. But if you put the headlights in the automatic mode, you get the swiveling active headlight system. That means when you turn the steering wheel to the left, the headlights swivel to the left. You turn to the right like I am now, the headlights swivel to the right. So you see what's around the corner. Very nice system, especially out here where you have mountain lions and skunks wandering out in the road. A mountain lion I can hit, I don't mind, but a skunk, no. Don't want to do that. The cornering ability of this vehicle is fantastic. You really take it to the limits, but what the limits are, I'm not so sure. Let's just say it's brisk enough for me at the moment. And once the turbo kicks in, this engine is very, very potent. You gotta hang on to the steering wheel and pay attention. This is not a car for people who like to play on their cell phone when they're driving. That would be a bad idea. Always a bad idea, but even more so with this very potent Volkswagen. And these brakes work perfect. Well, you just missed it on camera. I just ran over a skunk. Fortunately, I didn't hit him. The car just went right over him because he was kind of small, so I dodged a bullet. In the meantime, I just put this in racing mode, and the only difference I can tell, the exhaust is a lot louder. Sounds a lot better. But by putting it in race mode, did I lose traction control? I don't remember. Hope I don't have to find out the hard way. For those interested, all this driving is going uphill from 2,000 feet. We just made 7,000 feet. Well, the road's getting a little slick because of the rain they had today, and up here rain turns into ice. So I think it's time to turn around and go back. But first I want to check the fuel economy on this run. I was averaging around 22 to 26 around town, mixed commuting. Now we dropped to 15.7. But keep in mind I did not reset the computer. That's a combination average. So if I reset it before I'd come up here, well, looks like I probably would have gotten around 13 mpg, just guessing. Hey, you use the power, you use the gas. What can I tell you? 22 miles of downhill driving, and these brakes are not overheating. In fact, I don't even think they're warm. Very impressive. That is what you expect on a nice performance German machine. And that's what you get. This is a very, very nice car. Ooh. So we racked up 500 miles on this rig, and what do I think? The first question I was asked, how's this compared to the Honda Type R? Back when the Honda Type R was 40 grand, I'd be kind of leaning towards that, but now they're up to 48 grand, the same price as this. I think I'd take this over the Honda Type R. It's definitely a lot quicker, that's for sure. And yeah, the price is steep, but hey, that's just the way it is. If you want to see how this compares to the GTI model, here's a link coming up for that. Just click and watch. And subscribe, I need the gas money.